As the New York Rangers enter the Four Nations Faceoff break, just on the outside looking in of a wild card spot, this team is in a very interesting spot as right now we don't really know whether or not the New York Rangers are going to ultimately end up deciding to be buyers, sellers, or maybe deciding to do a little bit of both at this upcoming trade deadline, which will be happening on March 7th. So there is still a decent amount of time here, obviously, nearly a month, a little less than that, before the upcoming, deadline where the Rangers will obviously have to kind of ultimately make their final decisions. So they have a good amount of time here. They have this little break here with, no NHL games happening. Obviously, some of their players will be playing representing their nations, but there's a little bit of a break here for the NHL. So this front office can obviously try and kind of figure out what their ultimate plan is going to be for this upcoming trade deadline. But the interesting part is after this break does end, up until the trade deadline has happened on March 7th, the New York Rangers will have 7 games to play. A couple of them against some lower tier teams like the Penguins, Sabres, Islanders, Predators, actually 2 against Islanders there, but you've also got a couple there against the Leafs and Capitals as well. So there are some weaker opponents, but there definitely are some really good ones as well, mainly the Leafs and Capitals. So there are some still strong competition they have to play in these kind of remaining 7 games after the break here, which I think are ultimately going to have a major impact on the kind of final decision on what the Rangers are going to end up ultimately doing. Now, if they end up going, let's say like 2-5 in those 7 games played, then I would definitely imagine that they could look to maybe being a little bit more on sellers and have to be a little more hesitant to kind of make those big moves and kind of more win now moves out of this moment. But if they go out there and they win 5 of the next, 7 and go 5-2 over that stretch, then maybe they end up deciding to be buyers and go out there and make a buying move or two. And I really am still on the side of not going out there and spending a bunch of high tier assets for rental players. I think that's kind of the big thing there is I don't want to see guys like Gabe Perreault or Brendan Othman or, another first round pick or something like that way down the road kind of get shipped off, for a rental kind of player that's only going to be here for one season. In my opinion, any kind of trade that is made at this upcoming trade deadline, other than maybe a couple little minor ones here and there that are kind of for mid to kind of lower tier assets, that might be okay here and there, 1 or 2 of those kind of moves. If the Rangers are in a good spot there to possibly really try and make the playoffs, then making a rental move here and there, that can be okay, especially if you do have the kind of option of possibly really kind of bringing that player back, which the Rangers are going to have cap space available. So going out there and trading for a rental like a team like the Rangers already did with Will Borgen and then extending him, or a team like the Vancouver Canucks did with Marcus Pettersson, trading for him and then extending him right away as he is, also like Borgen was an upcoming free agent. So if they did that again, I wouldn't be against that, but trading high tier assets for rentals is just not the right decision. But lower tier assets for rental here or there is not the worst idea. So we'll have to wait and see what does happen. And like I said, I think those 7 games are going to have a major impact, but I think overall, this team really should not be kind of looking at this season as a kind of must-win season where they really have to kind of push all their chips in right now and really go for it. There is no reason to kind of rush things along here. I think with where this team's at right now, with some of the young talent already on this roster, some of the players already locked up kind of long-term under contract, and some of the prospects that are going to be coming and being pretty much ready, for this upcoming training camp, for the 2026 season even, I think there are going to be quite a few young guys and rookies and prospects that are going to really be competing for spots at the NHL level, and not all of them are going to end up making it or even getting a chance, but when you have those kind of guys who are a bit closer to being NHL ready, sometimes, those prospects are a little more enticing in trades, which helps kind of their value. But also, it's a really good thing for the Rangers to have potentially a bunch of just great young talented players who can kind of be the next kind of wave of prospects kind of coming in here, and guys who can be contributors on cheap contracts. That can be a great thing for this team long term. So to keep some of those good prospects around, like a Gabe Perreault, like a Brendan Othman, like a Brett Berard, those are guys who can help you in the very near future, but also long term as well. So that also kind of ties into, not trading away those, kind of high tier assets, which are those kind of top tier prospects. And next up here, let's take a look at the actual Eastern Conference wildcard standings and kind of take a look at where the Rangers currently sit and how far back they are of those top 2 spots in that wildcard race, as well as take a look at where that third team is in the Metro. But taking a look at the wildcard standings in the East, you have the Ottawa Senators and the Red Wings in those 2 spots there, and the Rangers down there in 5th place behind a couple other teams there, the Columbus Blue Jackets and the Boston Bruins. So they're not too far back. Right now, the Rangers have 55 games played. 58 points. They have 2 games in hand on the Bruins there, 2 points back, so they can catch them and get above them. They are, 2 points back of the Blue Jackets, but have a game in hand, so they can tie them. And then you've got the actual 2 wildcard spots, where that second one is being held by the Red Wings, who have the same amount of games played as the Rangers, but 3 more points, so not terribly far back. And then you've got the Senators, who are in that top wildcard spot, but they have 1 extra game played than the Rangers. So the Rangers have 1 game in hand, and they're only 4 points back. So you win that game in hand, and you're only 2 points back. So right now, the Rangers are not in a bad spot. I mean, it's not a great spot, obviously, but it's not a bad spot. They're just on the outside looking in. They're not too far back. It's going to be a race. There right now is still kind of half a dozen teams there, 6, 7 kind of teams, you could say, still fighting for those 2 kind of wild card spots. And right now, the Rangers are also not too far back of that 3rd spot in the Metropolitan Division either. They're a decent bit back, but not terribly far back. Right now, they have 2 games in hand on the Devils, who have 57 games played, 68 points. The Rangers have 2 games in hand there, so that's a possible 4 points. And right now, they're 10 games back. So let's say the Rangers win those 2 games in hand, they're only 6 points back of that 3rd wildcard spot. So I'm not saying it's likely they're going to catch the Devils there, but it is possible. And then the team above the Devils for that 2nd spot there in the Metro, the Canes there with 56 games played, 70 points. So if the Rangers won that single game in hand over the Canes there, who were in 2nd spot in the Metro, they'd be 10 points back, so not really likely to catch them, but it still is possible the Rangers can definitely get into one of those 2 wildcard spots or possibly manage to kind of squeak their way in to the Metro kind of 3rd spot there possibly, but it definitely is not terribly likely. And since the Four Nations Faceoff tournament does begin Wednesday night, February 12th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time between Canada and Sweden, I figured we'd take a look at all the New York Rangers players that will be representing their countries at this upcoming tournament. And there are a couple new guys since I originally made that video, when the initial kind of rosters dropped. So we'll take a look at the kind of updated players here in today's video. And starting things off, we have for Team Finland and one of the newest additions, as there was an injury to Team Finland's roster, and that is Urho Vakanainen, who will be representing Team Finland there, his country, which, that's nice to see. Obviously, a guy who got picked up in a trade fairly recently this season and is someone who has, played honestly pretty solid so far. Definitely someone who I think could be, brought back in a depth role and could be fine in that type of a role. So I think that could work out decently for the Rangers, but overall, solid player and could end up being a decent kind of bottom pairing defenseman or depth kind of guy for Team Finland. We'll have to wait and see what happens to him, but, just a solid player overall. Then you've got for Team Sweden, Mika Zibanejad, who was already named to that roster quite a while ago. One of the original kind of guys named as well. And he's someone who I really hope can, have a massive tournament here as he's starting to get some confidence. It seems like starting to play a little better as he's moved to the wing now since JT Miller has been brought over. So I think with Zibanejad going to this tournament, if he can have a big tournament here and kind of carry on that success and kind of, keep pretty hot or at least somewhat hot there, I think that could be good for the Rangers and Mika going forward. And then you've got for Team USA, as there are no Team Canada players, but for Team USA, you've got Chris Kreider, Vincent Trocheck, Adam Fox, who we all already knew were on the team, but now we've got a new player to the Rangers who was already named as well, and that is JT Miller. So nothing really new there, but with JT Miller being added there and obviously Urho Vakanainen also getting that chance now with Team Finland, I figured we'd take a look at those players as well, and I kind of give you updated kind of New York Rangers players that will be going to this upcoming Four Nations Faceoff tournament for the first time ever. Anyways, definitely comment down below your thoughts on this whole kind of upcoming trade deadline here and kind of what your thoughts are and what the Rangers should be doing. And also definitely comment down below your thoughts on this upcoming Four Nations Faceoff tournament. Who do you think is going to win it all? And also, are you excited to watch some New York Rangers players in this tournament? Are you going to watch it at all? Let me know your thoughts. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next one. Bye.